Water is the basis of life, and when you look at how we use water and how we depend on it, you'll realise that without it we can't really live. We can't have industries and we can't grow our food. So it's involved in virtually everything we do. And because it's a very valuable resource, and we have to take care of it. There are many threats to the supply of water for ourselves and for our crops and for our industries. Some of them are of our own making, such as climate change, and others are of nature's making, such as floods and droughts that occur of their own accord and always have and probably always will. So we have to learn to manage our water resources in harmony with what nature provides and the opportunities we use when they arise, and we try and deal with the threats when they arise. So the study of all of those interactions between how water comes our way and what we do with it is vitally important for sustaining the resource and having it around and available to us in the long term. The government's initiative in privatising water certainly has a number of potentially positive benefits. In the first instance, it's encouraging people to value water and to bring home to them that it is a valuable resource and that it must be preserved and conserved. There is also the expectation that once people have to pay for water, the behaviour in terms particularly of wasting water will be changed, and that less water will actually be wasted. On the other hand, you could say that it is a pity that this hasn't happened by itself, on people's own initiative, that this appreciation of the value of the water is not reflected in the behaviour of society as a whole, and that it has to be encouraged with financial incentives. Historically, Ireland has played a leading role in water resources and hydrology worldwide. Right from the 19th century, when Robert Manning developed his very, very important and still widely used equation for predicting flood peaks, right through to the 20th century, when we had two icons in hydrology, Professor James Doug and Professor Eamon Nash, right through to the present day, where a large number of water resources engineers and hydrologists worldwide, and particularly in the developing country, have been trained in Ireland or have been trained in courses that have been set up and run by Irish institutions. So our international footprint, if you like, in the water resources area is far larger than the size of the country or our population. In that respect, we have much to offer, both as being neutral, if you like, in terms of conflicts, and also in terms of understanding the science of what's involved in both supplying water, in dealing with floods and with forecasting floods, and indeed in dealing with wastewater as well. The recent floods in Ireland have brought home to us what nature can do. And in some respects, there are claims that the magnitudes and the frequency of floods are likely to increase because of climate change, and I think that is likely to be the case. However, the severity of the damage and the consequences of floods are both a combination of perhaps increasing frequency, but also of increasing vulnerability, that far more of our infrastructure, our houses, our roads, our power supplies, etc., are located in areas that are becoming more and more vulnerable to floods. So that it's a double whammy, in effect, more severe floods, but also increased vulnerability. And to address that, we have to do it in a pragmatic manner. We don't have enough money to protect everything from every flood, so that we have to prioritise. We have to decide what we want to defend and decide what is not worth defending. In other countries, the word managed retreat, or the phrase managed retreat, is often used, and I think that encapsulates some of the policies that must be adopted. Once that decision process is made, there are many things we can do to protect what we do want to protect, from building structures and training rivers to reduce the magnitudes of floods and to prevent the floods from reaching the vulnerable areas, to flood warning systems that allow people to either evacuate a particular area or move valuable possessions to higher locations, either upstairs in a house or out of the area completely, once a severe flood is expected. In some rivers now, there is the possibility of 8 to 10 hours warning of an impending flood, which is enough time to erect barriers to the flood, where you have demountable barriers in towns such as Mallow, for instance, or in effect to warn people to get out of the area or move their possessions to higher locations. The problem of meeting water demand has two opposing facets. One is, you can say, well, this mismatch between demand and what's available can be satisfied by increasing what's available. The other way to look at it is the mismatch can be satisfied by decreasing the demand. And both approaches, I think, should be adopted. A certain amount of what's called demand management, and not just using financial measures, but also encouraging people from an environmental and from a sustainability point of view to conserve water and to change the way the water is used, will achieve something. And in combination with an increase in water supply from new and novel sources, there is a valid expectation that the demand can be met by supply. In the past, most of the emphasis was increasing the supply of water in order to meet an ever-increasing demand. Our ability to do that is diminishing. We get diminishing marginal returns now with investment in terms of water supply, because the easy sources and the most available sources have been utilised. So that we're now looking further afield. For instance, you've probably heard of taking water from the Shannon and bringing it to Dublin. And also perhaps desalination sometime in the future if energy costs or the technology for desalination become more affordable. Ireland is in a fairly unique position compared to many countries in Europe, in that we have a lot of very good quality water resources. We have a lot of lakes and rivers with high status. And one of the challenges that we face is to maintain that very high status. It gives us great value for the quality of our nature and our environment, and one that is appreciated particularly by tourists and by people visiting our country, who actually can compare the quality of what we have with what they have back in their own countries. Perhaps we don't value it ourselves as much as we might, but we certainly have to make every effort to preserve it.
No problem.
But there is something that's worth saying there.
Okay. Okay, so you want to know the value of the
Yeah,
Earth?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. In what way is the Earth Institute valuable to
The Earth Institute provides a multidisciplinary. Sorry, so you're going to. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Time-wise is fine, to be honest. I am
Do you know where Leinster Rugby is? You know Richmond, the outlet? Yeah. As you go over there, towards there, there's a bit of a lift.
right, so because I'm moving on.
Well, if you look, if you look over towards the water tower, you see between the water tower and there's this white building. It's shaped in the form of a U. It's used to. It used to be built about 7 years ago, just before the crash. And I think we were talking another year later.
And it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, apart from being a little bit isolated, we don't have great, we don't have any cafe in Richmond. We had one planned originally in landscape architecture, like in the previous reorganisation. And now they've been moved out again, so but they're still here.
They're building country actually, there's a building over here.
Really? It's this building?
Okay, yes,
You think, yeah?
Okay, so in what way is the Earth Institute beneficial to you?
Yeah. UCD has many different research groups working in many different areas. The value of an institute, such as the Earth Institute, is
okay, so you want to go with the value of the Earth? Yeah, okay. In what way is the Earth Institute valuable to your research?
Collaborations between the individuals involved. The Earth Institute advantage that it confers is multidisciplinary together the disciplines needed to achieve a particular task. And that may range from highly technical, from the scientific point of view, or the engineering point of view, or the mathematical point of view, to the social expertise that's available in sociology or psychology. Because very often it's not just enough to produce the scientific outputs, but also it's important to communicate them, and to communicate them effectively. We find that in particular with flood warnings. We're highly capable of producing fairly reliable and timely flood warnings, but one of the biggest challenges is actually communicating them in an effective way to the people who must respond.
There we go.
Okay,
so in what way is the Earth Institute
that effort is
beneficial to your research?
Not fully fulfilling its potential.
UCD has many different research groups working in many different areas. The value of an institute, such as the Earth Institute, is in its integration and combination of this work, the outputs, but also the collaborations between the individuals involved.
It's great to see the collaboration.
The great advantage that it confers is its ability to pull together the disciplines needed to achieve a particular task. And that may range from the highly technical, from the scientific point of view, or the engineering point of view, or the mathematical point of view, to the social expertise that's available in sociology or psychology. Because very often it's not just enough to produce the scientific outputs, but also it's important to communicate them, and to communicate them effectively. We find that in particular with flood warnings. We're highly capable of producing fairly reliable and timely flood warnings, but one of the biggest challenges is actually communicating them in an effective way to the people who must respond, and ensuring that that response takes place. Otherwise, that effort is not fully fulfilling its potential. Something like that. I might cut the last bit out.
Yeah, no worries. Well, that sounds good.
Something, I mean,